It's noon in Kyiv, and you're watching Our Time. I'll tell you the main news at this hour. I'm Katerina Vishneska. Hello. Russia continues to strike the energy infrastructure in the Odesa region. Overnight, a drone attack caused a fire at one of the facilities. Equipment was damaged. An employee of the enterprise was injured. He is in the hospital in serious condition, according to local authorities. Rescuers quickly extinguished the fire. Work continues on, eliminating the consequences of the attack. 2 people were killed, 3 were injured, as a result of a drone attack on the Dnipropetrovsk region. The Pavlograd region was under attack. Among the wounded is an 18-year-old boy. He remains in hospital in moderate condition, local authorities report. A residential building was partially destroyed. Another 6 were damaged, and garages and cars were also damaged. 111 drones. Russia launched a missile attack on Ukraine on Wednesday night. More than 60 of them were shaheds, according to the Ukrainian Air Force. Ukrainian air defenders neutralized 83 drones of various types in the north, south, and east of our country. Hits were recorded at 13 locations, and at one more site, debris from a downed aerial target fell. Norway is allocating an additional $500 million to purchase American weapons for Ukraine. The United Kingdom will provide £10 million to support Ukraine's energy infrastructure. These announcements were made today ahead of the meeting of NATO foreign ministers in Brussels. The U.S. peace plan will also be a central topic of discussion, and Freedom TV special correspondent Vitaly Sizov is reporting from the Alliance headquarters. Hi, Callie. Good afternoon. Welcome to the live broadcast. Please tell us about other details of the meeting.
Yes, Katerina, these are just the first aid packages, because even this $500 million package from Norway will be delivered together with packages from other countries. And most likely, we will soon hear details about further assistance to Ukraine. The meeting of the North Atlantic Council has already begun. This is the format. NATO, but at lunchtime, a meeting in the Ukraine-NATO Council format will take place here, and it will be joined by the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, Andriy Sybiha, and the High Representative of the European Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy. Kai Kallas, the Ukrainian minister, will speak about the situation on the battlefield, the dynamics of peace efforts, and ongoing Russian attacks against Ukrainian civilian infrastructure. NATO's Secretary General Mark Rutte, before this meeting, stated that contacts between Kyiv and Washington are going well. However, he did not comment on the meeting in Moscow, but called for pressure to be put on Russia if there is no progress. We had successful meetings in Geneva and Miami between the American and Ukrainian teams. Last night, a meeting took place in Moscow. I will not comment on every stage of this process. What matters is that there is a peace process. I hope it will lead to results. But if it drags on or doesn't lead to results, the best way to put pressure on the Russians is to do 2 things. First, make it clear to them that the rapid flow of weapons to Ukraine will continue. Second, it is necessary to ensure the effectiveness of economic sanctions. Several participants of the meeting were dissatisfied with what they heard yesterday from the Moscow representatives after the meeting. Let me remind you that they spent several hours discussing the U.S. peace initiative, but judging by the words of the Moscow representatives, they did not go into the details, stating that some points were acceptable to Moscow, while others were not. This immediately provoked reaction from a number of foreign ministers.
Until I see any changes, I will continue to conclude that Russia does not want peace. That is exactly why we need to stick to the 2-point plan, increase support for Ukraine, and ramp up pressure on Russia. And we need to hit them where it hurts most, their oil and gas revenues.
Against the backdrop of Moscow's unwillingness to make concessions, Ukraine's most consistent allies within NATO are urging other alliance countries to increase their support for Ukraine. According to them, and in their assessment, the consequences of any delay could end up being much more costly. Northern countries provide a third of all military aid to Ukraine from NATO countries. That says a lot about our 5 countries with a combined population of less than 30 million people. But it also says a lot about what other countries could do. And if we don't do this now, it'll cost us much more in the future.
Obviously, one of the main topics of today's discussion will be peace negotiations. A long-term and sustainable peace is impossible if evil continues to exist. On the contrary, we must ensure that the good guys have the opportunity to build a sovereign state based on freedom, independence, transparency, and full democracy. The Ukrainian people deserve this, and we are here to support them.
Today, another key topic of discussion will be a reparations loan for Ukraine funded by Russian assets. Let me remind you, we're talking about a sum of nearly 140 billion euros, which should be secured using frozen Russian assets, mainly in Belgium. Germany has become an active proponent of using these assets and is looking for ways to persuade Belgium to support this decision. They want Belgium to allow the use of the Russian assets frozen on its territory, under its jurisdiction.
We support this and take Belgium's concerns seriously. Their concerns are justified, but the problem is solvable. It can be resolved if we are ready to take responsibility together. Germany is ready to do this and calls on all member states to follow its example. I am firmly convinced that Chancellor Merz's proposal will ultimately be adopted.
The discussions have started, including most likely right now. Naturally, they are discussing both a peaceful settlement and the whole range of issues mentioned by the ministers, whose statements we... Here at NATO headquarters, we continue our work. We are awaiting the start of the Ukrainian segment of the meeting, which will be dedicated specifically to Ukraine with the participation of the Ukrainian minister. We don't have to wait much longer, about 2 hours, and then they will start discussing specific aid to Ukraine here, including with the help of American weapons. We are monitoring updates and will keep you informed.
Vitally, thank you for the detailed information. Let me remind you, we are in contact with Vitaly Sizov from Brussels. Let me remind you, today the NATO-Ukraine Council meeting is taking place there. And let me remind you, what else? As a result of the meeting between the Russian dictator Putin and the American delegation, there is still no compromise plan to end the war in Ukraine. On Tuesday, the U.S. President's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, brought a revised version of the American peace plan to Moscow, which has been coordinated with the Ukrainian side. The delegation also included the son-in-law of the U.S. leaders, Jared Kushner. The meeting started 3 hours late. It lasted more than 5 hours. Territorial issues were discussed there. This issue is the most important for both the Kremlin and the American side, according to Putin's aide Yuri Ushakov. And in turn, President Shadow, Donald Trump, emphasized that Washington continues its efforts and is striving to end the war started by Russia.
Have already resolved 8 wars. This will be the 9th. Our people are now in Russia to see if we can resolve this. The situation is complicated, and I would call everything that's happening chaos. We're trying to resolve this and put an end to this war.
And Europe will finally give up Russian gas. The EU Council and the European Parliament have finalized the agreement. It provides for a complete halt to fuel imports from Russia by 2027. The document is a key element of the plan aimed at strengthening Europe's energy independence. This concerns both liquefied and pipeline gas. A transition period is provided for existing contracts.
We have succeeded. Europe is shutting off the tap to Russian gas for good. We have chosen energy security and independence for the EU. No more blackmail, no more market manipulation from Putin. We stand firmly with Ukraine. Dan Jorgensen, EU Commissioner for Energy and Housing, on social network X.
Subscribe to UATV English and stay updated on the most important events, top news from Ukraine and all over the world, in-depth analysis, exclusive reports and interviews, all on hand in our channel. Join our community of viewers and stay tuned.